Hello, hello. Good evening. This is cybersecurity expert Reginald Andre, and we are live today. Let's see, it's Tuesday, February the 21st, 2023, and we are coming to you live about some interesting news about the U.S. Department of Defense and how their email server was left exposed, allowing internal emails to be accessed for you pretty much by anyone. So we are certainly not a news channel. However, our company, Arc Solvers, always loves to talk about what's going on in the news as it relates to cybersecurity. So we always jump on these headlines because what we want to be able to have our customers and have our viewers experience is, okay, I'm hearing this on the news, on the big news networks, but what does it mean to me, the small guy that's listening to this? How do I learn from what to make sure that my small business doesn't become on the news? So that's the point of our video, is to kind of just take the news, break it down, and let you know on what happened and mistakes that may have happened, and how you can now make sure that your small business is protected. So let's first off by who. We have the Department of Defense, and basically their emails is hosted by Microsoft 365 Azure, what is called government cloud. So me and you, we may use Office 365, but the Microsoft Azure government cloud is actually separated from the normal user. So it's a separate connection, separate pipeline, probably even definitely separate buildings, because there's different clearances that needs to be made in order to access anything related to the Department of Defense. So essentially what happened is, according to TechCrunch, there was a ethical hacker. So this is someone who, when they find something, they don't go off and try to sell it, but they actually report it. And what they found is that with an IP address, and if you're not sure what an IP address is, just like how you may have www.yahoo, www.twitter, that converts to numbers, and that's called an IP address. So think of it as your home address. And what happened is this ethical hacker was, however, through his methods, typed in some IP addresses. And when he typed in these IP addresses, it took him directly into, think of it as an Outlook mailbox. And inside this Outlook mailbox and files, they're saying that it was over 3 terabytes of data. That is a lot of information. And they're saying that anyone with internet access could have accessed these mailbox if they knew the server's IP address and were using a web browser. So you can best to believe that you could have adversaries such as China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. I'm sure all of these guys were like, oh my gosh, Googling and Gagaing over this information. Now, of course, according to the United States government, they said none of the data hosted on the exposed server appears to be classified. I'm going to call them out on that. I don't know how true that is, because again, if you have countries like North Korea and China, and they see these things, they're not telling anybody. This is a landmine for them. So again, 3 terabytes of military emails, with many related to the U.S. Special Operations Command, which is the U.S. military unit that conducts special operations. So it's not like, just Bob ordering office supplies and now you can find out all the vendors. No, this is sensitive information about this SOC command. So, for example, they found what is called a SF Sam Frank 86 questionnaire. And this is the form that's filled out by government employees attempting to obtain security clearance. So if you're trying to do security clearance, it's going to ask you for information such as your social security number, your address, as well as personal information of the people that you may know well as well, because they need to do the background checks. So none of this was encrypted. None of this was protected. And all you needed to do was to know what this IP address was, and you're going to be able to find it. Now, according to some websites that actually track these things, one being Shodan. Shodan is a website that tells you, kind of gives you like the history of the internet, kind of tells you everything that's going on in the internet. They said that this particular IP address was exposed for at least 2 weeks. So we know about 2 weeks is how long it's been. So let's talk about your business. How do you now say, wow, this is a big deal? How do I make sure that my business it doesn't this happen? Well, first of all, I'm surprised that the U.S. government, working with the top engineers at Microsoft, didn't have or don't have something that this couldn't even happen. Because what this was is a misconfiguration. It was a human error. It was someone probably working in the admin console and they uncheck mark something. Well, guys, at this high level, you don't leave things to chance. There should have been no reason why you could even check mark that so that people without a password can just enter this IP address and be able to access the data. This should have been what we call disabled. This should have been grayed out. There should have never been an option even for this. So that way you even prevent this sensitive information. Now, what we see in businesses a lot too now, let me tell you, is that you'll have a business where everybody is supposed to have 2FA and the owner says, yeah, we did a project about a year ago in our IT company, or I set up 2 factor authentication on all the emails. And then what do we find later on? Someone didn't have their 2FA on because maybe IT had to reset a password, or maybe someone created the account, but they couldn't reach the person. So they just set up the email address and said, I'll do the 2FA later. And they forgot, and then that email was compromised. So there's so many different mistakes that can happen. But again, this is why it's important for you as a small business owner to have to work with a cybersecurity company that can have these check and balances. For example, in our company, if 2FA is turned off, it automatically blocks the account. So if any of our clients have 2FA and it's turned off for more than a few minutes, it blocks the account. It gives us an alert, and we have to investigate it. So this is something, for example, in your business, this is something that you should have. There's other things. For example, if the phone is going to an outside area, so let's just say your staff only does business in the United States, they don't necessarily travel, and all of a sudden Microsoft sees a login in Africa or in Turkey or somewhere where they weren't planning on going, they didn't notify IT, it blocks the account, changes the password. And these are the type of things that you have to have, because there are human errors and there are compromises that can happen. So according to the Department of Defense, they're saying that we can confirm at this point, no one hacked the U.S. Special Operations Command information systems. Again, I mean, we're probably never going to know, because this stuff is going to start becoming classified, and they probably just gave that information so that way there wasn't any rumors. But I'm sure the Department of Defense is going to be very silent on anything else going on this. And I have a good feeling that, I mean, let's read that again. It says, we can confirm at this point, no one hacked the U.S. Special Operations Command. Okay, so a few things with that. Let me not even get started. It's not a, how can you notice in a couple of days, right? There's a lot of investigations and forensic that needs to be done. And you don't know, maybe these hackers, they stay in systems for a long time. And it's not until 3, 4, 5 months later when these people's information starts showing up on the dark web. And it may never even show up on the dark web, because this is data that just other militaries want to know. Oh, okay, this is their process. Oh, okay, this is a special command. Oh, okay, let's see if we can go bribe him, or let's see if we can blackmail him. I mean, yeah, it may never show up on the dark web, but there's so much other things that other countries can do. So, and this all happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So for me, I think that's kind of a little too early. I mean, it's a good PR statement, but I also do think it's a little too early for anybody to really say exactly what happened until you get forensics in there. You do what is called discoveries. You do analytics on the systems to see if there was anything truly happening. So again, I hope this was useful. I always try to keep these videos less than 10 minutes. So it's 9:51. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. Thank you so much. My name is Reginald Andre with Arc Solvers. We're based in South Florida. But if you guys need any cybersecurity help, please don't hesitate to call our office. Description is